This here's from Reddit from the Depp Delusion, who's breaking you out of the delusion that Johnny is the victim. I'm not broken out yet, so let's see what they got today. I was holding out hope for you, Tim. I mentioned recently that Tim Burton has not worked with Johnny in about 13 years now. He said he would. I was irritated, but I don't actually dislike Tim. I wasn't being completely serious. I wish he did work with Johnny. It's irritating. He says he is and doesn't. But in the end, Tim's cool. And if he does work with Johnny in the future, fine. I'll support it. But I think what this person means here is they were holding out hope that Tim would never work with Johnny or something like that. What they clipped out was Tim Burton says there will be another Johnny Depp production in the future. And there might be. But my stance is it's been 13 years, so I'm done with the talk. Just, tell me the definitive contract signed when it's coming out, or don't say it again, please. That comment he made about Winona Ryder being able to keep him Depp calm really put a bad taste in my mouth. I can't recall that. Maybe someone can. Not sure why that would be a bad taste in someone's mouth, if it's true or whatnot. Okay. Reminds me of Manson's team depending on a teenage Evan Rachel Wood to calm his violent tantrums, of course. It's always going to be the savior of these guys. Their girlfriends. Winona Ryder had to calm down Johnny. Obviously, Amber's the hero for them. Evan Rachel Wood had to calm down Marilyn Manson. It's always one-sided. There's never any thought about how they are. That's disgusting. The more I learn about JD and MM, the more I feel for their exes, Winona, Evan, and Amber especially. So what did you learn about Johnny here? That allegedly Winona Ryder had to calm him down? Here's the thing, and I think this goes especially for men. Great actors, when they can't get something right on set, get angry. They get irritated. It's not because they're bad people and violent people. It's because they really want the best out of what's going on. James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano pretty famously on set, punched things, got crazy. When things didn't go his way, you could say he got a little out of control. It wasn't because he was this violent, terrible person. He was a good guy. It was pretty well known, but he was irritated at himself and the performance and wanted to get it right, or irritated about something else about the art and the work and some other actor who might have been ruining the scene or something. It wasn't because he was just some off-the-wall crazy guy. So maybe Johnny, as we know, being pretty masterful at his craft, got like that sometimes, understandably. He probably worked real hard to nail the lines, and if you practice for hours on end, you get into the studio and you F up, it's probably pretty frustrating. But that's my silly opinion. I'm not an actor. Who knows? Maybe they're right. I think it's mentioned in the Phoenix Rising documentary. I would highly recommend if you haven't seen it. It really paints a vivid picture of how Evan Rachel Wood wants you to think Manson is what they should have wrote. But of course they say a vivid picture of who Manson is. According to who? I know someone who, I guess you could say, knows Manson, and you do too. And according to them, yeah, he's just pretty normal, cool guy. It's basically a nice story. Please, beautiful girl, fall in love with this pitiful freak because you feel sorry for him. Don't reject him. Be with him because he's pathetic. That's the kind of BS we grew up watching as kids. No wonder self-hating guys feel so entitled to the love of a beautiful woman. A freak with scissors for hands landed Winona. It's a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. No one actually thought that Winona would go for somebody like that. It's amazing how toxic romantic movies can be with their nice guy tropes and telling us women to always fight for losers. Well, here's the thing. I understand to a woman, nice guys aren't always attractive, and I don't think they're attractive, to be honest. But they're not always losers. Being unattractive because you might be too nice, you don't take command, or whatever, doesn't mean you're a loser. It means you might not be good with women. You might be a genius in other ways, though. But we're not talking about that type of guy you're talking about. We're talking about two very successful guys who happen to be artistic and have a lot of money and aren't bad looking, obviously, especially Johnny. We're not talking about the nice guy who you think is the nice guy in your neighborhood or whatever. We're talking about pretty much top of the industry nice guys, quote unquote, if you want to even call them that. And yeah, no offense to nice guys. It's a complex conversation, but I understand why being nice sometimes comes off not as attractive. They get into the old trope that no big studio will insure Johnny because he's always late to set. We're still talking about that. I'm sure one of the biggest movie stars in history, Johnny Depp, comes late to set and they don't want him anymore. It's like getting someone top of the industry. We're going to get Joe Rogan for a series of podcasts, but if he comes late, we don't want him anymore. We're going to get Elon Musk to do some speeches on technology, but if he comes late, we don't want him anymore. We're going to get Johnny Depp for these movies, but if he comes late, we don't want him anymore. I'm not in the industry. I don't make the calls, but it doesn't quite make sense to me. What I feel like is if someone's that good in the industry and they come late, you generally put up with it because they're unique. They're that good. I wasn't holding out hope. Tim Burton is a creep and a misogynist. The world just hasn't discovered that yet. I honestly have no idea what he is. He's Tim Burton. He makes, kind of creepy cool movies. And he's featured Johnny a few times. That's it. Everyone is like some kind of a terrible person to these people. He hasn't been accused of anything, but he hangs out with a ton of creeps who have allegations, and that's not a deal breaker for him. So he probably lacks a moral compass, of course. So if you had friends and they got accused of things, you'd say, "Whoop, I believe your accusers. I'm not talking to you anymore." You're a good friend. You have a lot of faith in people, don't you? All right, so as you can see, they're a little bit irritated about this one statement that Tim Burton made, which, by the way, he might not keep the promise on because he hasn't in like 13 years. Still interesting, though, to see their little silly points of views. One more thing before I go. I got some donations for the channel set up. If you want to donate, it's in the description, especially PayPal. That's about it. Nothing complicated. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.